I'm pressed against the wall in the back office of Chicago's most exclusive charity gala, and Dominic Salvatore, the man I met exactly 18 hours ago, has his hand beside my head, his body blocking mine from the door. My husband's voice echoes from the main hall, calling my name. Security radios crackle in the hallway outside. "Tell me to leave," Dominic says, his dark eyes locked on mine. "And I will, but we both know you don't want that." My wedding ring feels like it's burning my finger. My heart is hammering so hard I'm certain he can hear it. His other hand comes up to cup my face, thumb brushing my cheekbone with devastating gentleness. "Sophia," he breathes.
"Choose."
"Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. Because this story is about to get dark. Now, let me take you back. Back to 18 hours ago, when my world shattered and remade itself in the span of a single morning. The smell of coffee should have warned me. Ryan never made coffee. In 4 years of marriage, he'd never once gotten up before me, never once thought to start the morning routine. But there he was at our kitchen island in our Lincoln Park condo, 2 mugs waiting, his laptop open, looking like a man about to deliver a presentation. "We need to talk," he said. I was 28 years old, an architectural photographer with a slowly dying career and a marriage I'd convinced myself was fine. "We were fine. Wasn't fine enough?" "I've been thinking," Ryan continued, pushing a mug toward me. He was still in his running clothes, another anomaly. Ryan hated running. "About us, about our future." Something cold slithered down my spine. "Okay, I love you, Soph, you know that, but I think we've fallen into a pattern. We're stagnating." He said it like he'd rehearsed, like he'd practiced this speech in the shower. "We're still young, we got married so early, and I think we'd both benefit from exploring our options." The words didn't make sense at first. They bounced off my brain like marbles on glass. "Exploring our options," I repeated slowly. "An open marriage." He met my eyes finally, and I saw each relief. Like he'd been carrying this weight and was so grateful to set it down. Not divorce, nothing that drastic, just freedom. To experience more of life, to grow as individuals. My hands started shaking. I set the coffee mug down before I dropped it. "You want to sleep with other people. I want us both to have that option. It's not about you. Sophia, you're amazing. But we're 28 and 30. Don't you ever wonder what else is out there?" No, I wanted to scream. I wondered how to pay our mortgage. I wondered why my career had stalled. I wondered when my husband had stopped looking at me like I mattered. But I'd never once wondered about other men. "This is insane, Ryan. It's progressive. Lots of couples get out." His face shifted. Surprise, then irritation. "Soph, don't be dramatic. Just think about it. We can set boundaries, rules. This could strengthen our relationship." I stood up, my chair scraping against our expensive hardwood floors. Floors I'd wanted to keep the original linoleum on because it had character, but Ryan said clients would judge his taste. Everything in this condo was Ryan's taste. When had I stopped having opinion? "I have a shoot today," I lied. "We'll talk tonight. That's all I'm asking. Just think about it." He kissed my forehead patronizing, automatic hand left for his morning run that he'd apparently started without telling me. I stood in our kitchen for 20 minutes, staring at nothing, feeling everything inside me crack clean through. Then I saw it. His iPad on the counter, screen still glowing. He'd been reading something before I came out. I picked it up.
"Messages."
With someone named Becca. "Last night was amazing. Can't stop thinking about." "When are you telling her?" "Soon, baby. I promise. Just need to lay the groundwork first." Dated from 7 months ago. 7 months. I scrolled through hundreds of messages. Photos I didn't open. Plans they'd made. Hotels they'd visited. A whole relationship, flourishing while I'd been busy making myself smaller, quieter, less inconvenient for my husband's life. The open marriage wasn't a request. It was retroactive permission. I called Maya from my car, parked 3 blocks from my own home, because I couldn't stay in that condo one more second. "He what?" Maya's voice went from confused to furious in half a second. Sophia Chen, tell me you threw something at his head. Maya Park had been my best friend since our sophomore year at the School of the Art Institute. While I'd gone into architectural photography, she'd built an empire in event planning. She knew every venue in Chicago, every caterer, every florist. She also knew every secret I'd ever kept. He's been cheating on me, Maya, for 7 months, with someone from his firm. I'm going to kill him, actually kill him. Where does he run? I'll hit him with my car. Despite everything, I almost laughed. Don't go to prison for Ryan Harper, he's not worth it. You're right, you're absolutely right. I heard her pacing, the click of her heels on her office floor. Okay, here's what we're doing. You're not going home tonight. Maya, listen to me. I have the Morrison Foundation Gala tonight at the Morgan Club. Biggest event of my career. I need you there. I was going to call and beg you to photograph it. The client wants architectural shots of the space. Candid moments, the whole thing. It's good money, and you need to get out of your head. I can't. Yes, you can. Soph, when's the last time you took a photo for yourself? When's the last time you entered a competition or submitted to a gallery? The silence answered for me. You've been dimming your light for him for years, Maya said quietly. You turned down that gallery opportunity in New York. You stopped entering competitions. You take corporate, headshots and real estate photos because they're stable income while you support his career. When do you get to shine? My throat felt tight. He said I was stagnating. He's projecting. You're not stagnating, you've been suffocating. And tonight, you're going to breathe. Be at the Morgan Club at 6. Wear all black. Bring your good camera. And Sophia? Yeah? Ryan's supposed to be at a client dinner tonight, right? That's what he said. Then he won't be at this gala. It's just you, me, and Chicago's elite getting drunk on champagne and throwing money at charity. You can hide behind your camera, be invisible like you do best, and we'll figure out your next move tomorrow. Being invisible. I was so good at that. I'd made an art form of taking up as little space as possible. Maybe it was time to stop. The Morgan Club occupied the top 3 floors of a historic building in the Gold Coast. Old money, the kind that whispered instead of shouted. The kind that had roots reaching back to when Chicago was built on swampland and ambition. Walking through those doors was like stepping into a different century, one where women wore gloves and men smoked cigars in rooms where decisions were made that shaped the city. Maya met me at the service entrance, a clipboard in one hand and her phone in the other, looking every inch the woman who could orchestrate chaos into elegance. You came, she said, hugging me quickly. How are you? Numb, functional, ready to work. That's my girl. Okay. Here's the deal. The Morgan family opens this club twice a year for charity events. Tonight is the Morrison Foundation's pediatric cancer fundraiser. We're expecting about 200 guests, politicians, CEOs, old money, new money, and she lowered her voice as we walked through the service corridors. Connected money. I stopped. Connected. This is Chicago, Soph. The outfit might not be what it was in Capone's day, but certain families still run certain operations. Real estate, construction, waste management, unions. You know, the businesses that make cities function. Maya, you didn't tell me this was. Would you have come if I had? She turned to face me, hands on my shoulders. You need this. The money is incredible. And these people, they remember photographers. You could build a client base that actually values your work. Just stay professional, stay in the background, and capture the evening. That's all. The main ballroom stole my breath. 3-story ceilings with crown molding that probably cost more than my annual income. Crystal chandeliers, the real kind, from Europe, each prism catching light and throwing rainbows across walls paneled in dark wood. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Lake Michigan, the water dark and endless under the evening sky. I raised my camera and started shooting. The architecture, the details, the play of light and shadow. This was where I felt safe behind the lens, observing without being observed. Guests began arriving at designer gowns and tuxedos, jewelry that required security escorts. Conversations conducted in the language of people who'd never checked their bank account before making a purchase. I drifted through them like a ghost, my camera a shield, my black dress a uniform of invisibility. I photographed a congressman laughing with a tech CEO, a socialite whose face had been on the cover of Chicago magazine examining the silent auction items, a group of younger men in expensive suits, their easy confidence speaking to inherited wealth and unlimited possibility. And then the energy in the room shifted. It was subtle. A momentary lull in conversation, a collective awareness rippling through the crowd. I lowered my camera and looked toward the main entrance. He walked in flanked by two men in dark suits, and I knew immediately security. Not the kind that checked bags at concerts. The kind trained for violence, constantly scanning, positioned to intercept threats before they materialized. But it wasn't them that made my breath catch. He was probably late 30s, Italian features with dark hair swept back from a face of sharp angles and harder edges. His suit was Tom Ford. I recognized the cut from photographing enough corporate clients black on black with a shirt in charcoal that probably cost what I made in a month. He moved through the room with the fluid confidence of a predator, and people adjusted around him without consciously realizing they were doing it. Creating space. Showing deference. I raised my camera instinctively. Photographer's instinct, capturing a compelling subject. Through the lens, I could study him safely. Strong jaw, full mouth, eyes so dark they were almost black from this distance. But it wasn't his looks that made him magnetic, it was the authority he radiated. The absolute certainty that the world would rearrange itself according to his desires. I'd spent 4 years making myself smaller. And here was a man who'd probably never apologized for taking up space in his entire life. He was speaking with an older man near the bar, his posture relaxed but alert. One of his security detail stood 3 feet behind him, eyes constantly moving. The other had positioned himself near the exit. Oh my God, Maya breathed beside me.
Sophia, put the camera down. Who is he? That's Dominic Salvatore. She said the name like it explained everything.
His family has been in Chicago for 4 generations. They own half the South Side and, own, real estate, construction companies, shipping operations. There are rumors about the family business that would make your hair stand on end.
Rumors?
People who cross the Salvatores have a way of disappearing, or suddenly deciding to leave Chicago very permanently. His father was suspected of being connected to the outfit. Dominic runs things now supposedly more legitimate than his father, but
She made a vague gesture.
the family still operates in the gray areas.
I should have put my camera down.
Should have moved to the other side of the ballroom. Instead, I kept shooting, captivated by the way he commanded attention without seeming to demand it. Through my lens, I caught a moment when he laughed at something the older man said, a genuine laugh that transformed his face, softening those harsh lines into something almost approachable. That's when he turned his head and looked directly at me. The eye contact was electric even through the camera. Across the expanse of the ballroom, through the crowd of Chicago's elite, Dominic Salvatore's dark eyes locked onto mine. Not through me, the way people usually looked at service staff.
At me.
Into me. I froze, my finger still on the shutter.
Quick question, are you listening alone or is someone next to you? Because it's about to get intense.
His expression didn't change, but something flickered in those dark eyes. Recognition, maybe.
Or curiosity.
The moment stretched, elastic and charged, until the older man said something that drew his attention back. I lowered my camera, my heart hammering against my ribs. Earth to Sophia, Maya hissed, grabbing my arm. Stop staring at Dominic Salvatore, that's like staring at the sun, you'll get burned. I was just photographing. I know what you were doing. Come on, I need you to get shots of the VIP lounge upstairs before the after-party starts. I followed her toward the service elevator, trying to ignore the feeling of his gaze still on my skin like a brand. I was changing my camera battery in an alcove near the main stairs when I heard his voice.
You're the photographer.
I turned, fumbling the battery, and there he was. Up close, Dominic Salvatore was devastating. Tall, at least 6'2", with the kind of presence that made the spacious hallway feel suddenly intimate. His cologne reached me, expensive and subtle, cedar and something darker I couldn't name. Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I caught myself apologizing.
Again.
I'm documenting the event for the Morrison Foundation. Your name? Sophia Chen. He said it slowly, tasting each syllable. You're the first person all night who's looked at me like I'm human instead of a headline. I blinked. I don't read the headlines. No? The corner of his mouth lifted. What do you read? Light, angles, composition. I held up my camera. Architecture mostly. Buildings don't lie. But people do. Everyone does. The words escaped before I could stop them. Sorry, that was honest, he interrupted. Don't apologize for honesty. It's rare in my world. He gestured to the alcove. May I? I nodded, not trusting my voice. He leaned against the wall opposite me, hands in his pockets, and somehow made the casual pose look elegant. How long have you been a photographer? Professionally, 6 years, since I graduated from SAIC, the Art Institute. Impressive. Do you enjoy it? The question surprised. When was the last time someone asked if I enjoyed my work? I used to love it. Now I mostly do corporate headshots and real estate photos. It pays the bills, but it doesn't fulfill you. I met his eyes. No, what would? If money wasn't an issue, what would you photograph? No one had asked me that in years. Not even Ryan. The city, I heard myself say. Not the tourist version, the real Chicago. The people who make it function. The L platforms at dawn. The way light hits the buildings in winter. The contrast between old architecture and new construction.
The stories buildings tell about who we were and who we're becoming.
Then why aren't you doing that? Because I'm supposed to be invisible tonight. I gestured at my black dress, my camera. That's what I do best, disappear. Dominic's expression shifted, something sharp and assessing moving through his dark eyes. Sophia Chen, you're the only person in this entire room I can see. My breath caught. Before I could respond, Maya appeared at the end of the hallway, slightly frantic. Sophia, I need you upstairs. The VIP lounge. Mrs. Morrison specifically requested architectural shots before the donors arrive. I looked at Dominic, then at Maya. I should go, he said. But Sophia? He reached into his jacket and produced a card. Matte black with silver lettering, just a phone number, nothing else. Call me when you're ready to be visible. I took the card with trembling fingers, and he walked away, his security detail materializing from wherever they'd been waiting. Maya grabbed my arm the moment he was gone. What just happened? I have no idea. Sophia, that man is dangerous. I know, and you're married. I know that too. But I slipped the card into my camera bag anyway. The VIP floor was invitation only, the kind of place where Chicago's real power brokers met. Maya had clearance to prep the space, and I was there to document it before the exclusive after-party began. 15 minutes, Maya said, checking her watch. Get your shots and then we need to be out before the guests arrive. The space was stunning intimate, where the ballroom had been grand. Leather seating, a private bar with top-shelf everything, original artwork on the walls. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a view of the city lights stretching to the horizon. I moved through the space, my camera capturing angles and details, trying not to think about the man downstairs or the card burning a hole in my bag. I was adjusting my settings when I felt it again, that shift in the air that announced his presence. The light is better up here, Dominic said from the doorway. I turned, my pulse jumping. What are you doing up here? I'm a donor. I have access. He walked into the room, and suddenly the spacious lounge felt small. Plus, I wanted to talk to you without 300 people watching. About what? He stopped a few feet away, close enough that I could see the flecks of amber in his dark eyes. About why you're wearing a wedding ring you keep touching like it burns. My hand stilled on my camera. That's none of your business. You're right, it's not. He moved closer. But I'm going to say something anyway, and you can tell me to go to hell if you want. Your husband is a fool. You don't know anything about my husband. I know you've apologized 6 times in 10 minutes for existing. I know you light up when you talk about your real work. Then dim yourself when you remember you're supposed to be invisible. I know someone taught you to make yourself small, and I'm betting it was him. He paused. So yes, he's a fool. Why do you care? Because I recognize survival instincts when I see them. His voice dropped lower. I grew up in a world where making yourself small could keep you alive, where showing weakness meant being destroyed, and I learned to be the opposite, to take up space, to never apologize, to make the world adjust to me instead of adjusting to it. He reached out, his fingers barely brushing my hand. But you're not surviving because you have to. You're surviving because someone convinced you that's what you deserve.
Tears stung my eye.
You don't know me. Then let me.
His thumb traced my wedding ring.
This doesn't feel right on your hand, does it? It feels like a shackle. It's complicated. It's always complicated. He released my hand but didn't step back. Ask me what you want to know, Sophia. I can see the questions in your eyes. Are you as dangerous as they say? More.
No hesitation. Does that scare you?
It should, but it doesn't.
Not a question.
No,
I whispered. And that scares me more than anything.
Dominic's hand came up to cup my face, his thumb brushing my cheekbone with devastating gentleness. I'm going to tell you something, and I need you to believe me. Whatever you're going through with your husband, whatever made you look so haunted when you walked in here tonight, you deserve better. You deserve to be seen, cherished, protected. You deserve someone who makes you feel like the most important person in the room, not someone who taught you to disappear. You're talking about things you don't understand, then help me understand. His forehead touched mine, and the intimacy of it stole my breath. Have coffee with me tomorrow, lunch, dinner. Just talk to me. Let someone see you, Sophia.
I should have said no.
Should have stepped back, left the VIP lounge, blocked his number before I was even tempted to use it. But I was so tired of being invisible.
So tired of apologizing for existing.
So tired of a marriage where I'd become a ghost in my own life.
I can't. His phone buzzed.
He pulled back with visible reluctance, checking the screen, and something dark crossed his face.
I have to go. Emergency.
He looked at me with an intensity that made my knees weak.
But Sophia, I'm going to see you again. That's not a question.
He left, his security detail materializing to escort him out, and I stood alone in the VIP lounge with my racing heart and the knowledge that everything had just changed.
Maya found me 10 minutes later. Please tell me you got the shots.
I looked down at my camera. I'd captured exactly 3 photos in the past 20 minutes. Yeah, I lied.
I got them.
Hit that like button if you know this feeling when someone sees the real you, and it's terrifying and thrilling at the same time.
I didn't get home until nearly midnight.
The gala had run long, and I'd volunteered to help Maya break down equipment, anything to delay the inevitable return to my condo. To Ryan. To my life that suddenly felt like it belonged to someone else. The lights were on when I unlocked the door. Ryan was on the couch, laptop open, a glass of whiskey on the side table. He looked up when I entered, irritation flickering across his face. There you are. I was starting to worry. No, you weren't, I thought. You were annoyed I wasn't here to hear about your day, to ask about your fake client dinner, to perform the role of supportive wife. The event ran late. I saved you some Thai food. It's in the fridge. He turned back to his laptop. How'd it go? Get good shots? Ryan, we need to talk about this morning. He sighed, the sound of a man dealing with an inconvenience. Soph, I thought we were giving this time to breathe. I gave you all day to process. Process. The word came out sharp. You asked me for permission to sleep with other people and expected me to process that in a day? I asked us to consider opening our marriage. It's not the same thing, isn't it? He closed his laptop, finally giving me his full attention. Look, I've been thinking about this for months. I've done research. Lots of successful couples have open arrangements. It's about honesty, communication, setting boundaries. Are you already sleeping with her? The pause was answer enough.
Who?
I asked, even though I knew.
It's not like that who, Ryan.
Becca, from the firm. It just happened. We didn't mean for it to develop. But it did, And I didn't want to lie to you, which is why I thought we should do this properly. With permission. With rules. The casual way he said it, like he'd accidentally ordered the wrong coffee, not built an entire secret relationship while coming home to me every night.
How long does it matter? 7 months.
I pulled out my phone, showed him his own messages. I saw your iPad this morning. 7 months, Ryan. 7 months of lying to me. His face went from surprise to defensive to angry in rapid succession. You went through my messages? That's a violation of privacy, Sophia. You've been fucking someone else for 7 months. And I was trying to make it right. I was trying to be honest, to include you in the decision, include me. I laughed, and it sounded broken. You made the decision 7 months ago. You just wanted retroactive permission so you could feel better about yourself. That's not fair. You've been checked out of this marriage for over a year. Don't act surprised. I found someone who actually wants me. The words hit like a physical blow. There it was, the real truth underneath all the progressive talk about open marriages and growth. I hadn't been enough. I'd failed at being whatever Ryan needed, and he'd found someone better.
Except, I didn't feel destroyed. I felt numb, and underneath the numbness, something else. Something that felt uncomfortably like relief. I want a divorce. Ryan blinked. Wow. I want a divorce. This marriage is over. Sophia, come on, you're upset. Let's not make rash decisions. It's not rash. You killed this marriage 7 months ago. I'm just finally acknowledging it. I pulled off my wedding ring and set it on the coffee table between us. I'll sleep in the guest room tonight. Tomorrow I'm calling a lawyer. You're not serious, so if we can work through this, couples therapy, boundaries, whatever you need, what I need is to not be married to you anymore. I walked to the guest room and locked the door before he could follow. Then I sat on the bed, pulled out the black card from my camera bag and stared at the phone number. At 3:47 a.m., when Ryan's snoring echoed from our bedroom, I texted, "You said you'd see me again." When?
The response came in 30 seconds. Tomorrow.
I'll send a car at noon.
Wear something comfortable. We're leaving the city. My fingers trembling, I typed. I'd made my choice. Ryan was gone when I woke up. No note, no text, just silence and the wedding ring I'd left on the coffee table, exactly where I'd placed it. I called Maya while I packed a bag. "You're doing what?" Her voice went up an octave. "Going somewhere for the day, with Dominic Salvatore. Sophia Chen, you've lost your mind." "Probably." I threw a change of clothes into my overnight bag, not sure why I was packing for more than a day trip, but following my instincts anyway. But Ryan's been cheating on me for 7 months. I asked for a divorce last night, and a very dangerous, very compelling man asked me to have coffee with him. So yes, I've lost my mind, and honestly, it feels good. Soph, I love you, but this is insane. You don't know this man. He could be, what? Dangerous, a criminal, someone who operates outside the law. I zipped my bag. Yeah, I know. And right now, that sounds better than another day in this condo with a husband who made me feel invisible for 4 years. Maya was quiet for a long moment. "Promise me you'll text me every hour, and if anything feels wrong, anything at all, you call me and I'll come get you. I don't care if I have to drive to Wisconsin or Indiana or wherever he's taking you. I promise. And Sophia, for what it's worth, I've never heard you sound this alive." The black Mercedes arrived at exactly noon. The driver was older, maybe 50, with kind eyes and the bearing of someone who'd seen violence but chose gentleness when possible. "Mrs. Chen, I'm Antonio. Mr. Salvatore sent me to collect you." "It's Ms. Chen," I said, sliding into the back seat.
Or just Sophia. Antonio met my eyes in the rearview mirror. "Just Sophia, then. We have about a 2-hour drive."
"Mr. Salvatore said to tell you that you can change your mind at any point, and I'll bring you straight back."
No questions asked. "I'm not changing my mind."
Antonio smiled. "Good."
He needs someone who doesn't scare easy.
We drove north out of Chicago, leaving the city behind for open highway and eventually the green spaces of Wisconsin.
I watched the skyline disappear in the side mirror and felt like I was shedding a skin. Real talk, what time is it where you are? Are you watching this in the middle of the night? Drop a comment and let me know. Lake Geneva appeared like something from a dream, blue water stretching to tree-lined shores, massive homes perched on the hillsides, boats cutting white trails across the surface. Antonio turned onto a private road marked only by a discreet gate and security camera. The Salvatore estate wasn't visible from the road. We drove through woods for another mile before the trees opened up to reveal a sprawling modern structure of glass and stone, built to embrace the lake rather than dominate it. Floor-to-ceiling windows reflected the water. Clean lines spoke to architectural restraint and unlimited budget. Dominic was waiting on the dock, and my breath caught. He'd changed from last night's formal wear into jeans and a dark Henley that clung to shoulders, suggesting he did more than sit behind a desk. His feet were bare, his hair slightly messed by the wind off the lake. He looked younger like this, less the dangerous crime boss, and more like a man who'd found a moment of peace. "You came," he said as I walked down the dock toward him. Surprise and satisfaction colored his voice. I wasn't sure I would until I was in the car.
Honest. I like that.
He took my hand, his grip warm and certain. "Thank you for trusting me." "I don't trust you." "Not yet." His smile was genuine, also honest. "Good.
Come on, I want to show you something."
He led me through the house open floor plan, modern kitchen with commercial appliances, living room with furniture that looked comfortable rather than showpiece. But he didn't stop until we reached a set of double doors on the second floor. "Close your eyes," he said. "Dominic, please. Just for a moment." I closed them, felt his hand on my lower back, guiding me forward, heard doors open, then his voice close to my ear. "Okay. Look." I opened my eyes, and my breath left in a rush. The room was a photographer's studio. North-facing windows flooded the space with perfect natural light. A workstation with a high-end computer and dual monitors. Backdrops in various colors. Professional lighting equipment. A camera bag on the desktop of the line. Equipment I'd drooled over but could never justify purchasing. "I had my assistant pull permits yesterday," Dominic said quietly. "Called in a few favors. The equipment is yours, not a loan, a gift. This space is yours for the weekend, or longer if you want it."
"I don't understand. Why would you look at the walls?"
I turned and stopped breathing entirely. My photographs covered the walls. Not my recent corporate work, my thesis exhibition from the School of the Art Institute 7 years
ago. The series on Chicago's disappearing neighborhood, textual study of contrast between old and...
"How did you... I looked you up last night."
"Found your MFA thesis online."
Tracked down the actual prints through a gallery contact. He moved to stand beside me, studying the images. "These are extraordinary, Sophia. The way you see the city, it's like you're having a conversation with it. Like you're the only one who understands what it's trying to say." Tears burned my eyes. That exhibition was 7 years ago. "What happened?"
"Everything. I'd graduated, married Ryan 6 months later.
Started taking corporate jobs to support us while his legal career launched. Stopped entering competitions because the entry fees seemed frivolous. Stopped submitting to galleries because Ryan said I needed to focus on building a sustainable income. Stopped creating art because somewhere along the way, I'd convinced myself that survival mattered more than passion. I grew up," I said, but the words felt hollow. "No." Dominic turned to face me, his hands settling on my shoulders. "Someone convinced you that your art wasn't worth pursuing. That stability mattered more than passion. That you should be practical instead of extraordinary." His eyes searched mine. "Let me guess. Your husband? He didn't mean, didn't he?" Dominic's voice was gentle but firm. "Sophia, I've spent 10 minutes in this studio and I can see your soul in these photographs. Anyone who could look at this work and tell you to focus on real estate photography either doesn't understand art or doesn't want you to outshine them." The truth of it hit like a physical blow. How many times had Ryan dismissed my work as nice hobby? How many gallery opportunities had I passed on because he said the timing wasn't right? How many times had I made myself smaller so he could feel bigger? He asked for an open marriage yesterday, I heard myself say.
Turned out he'd been cheating on me for 7 months. I asked for a divorce last night.
Dominic's expression went cold, dangerous. His name. Why? Because I'm debating whether to have him killed or just destroyed professionally. He said it so matter-of-factly that it took a moment to register he was serious. What's his name, Sophia? Ryan Harper. He's a lawyer at Klein & Amp Associates. I know that firm. They handle real estate contracts for some of my developments. His smile was razor-sharp. How convenient. Dominic, you can't what?
Make a phone call that ensures he never works in Chicago again?
Sophia, I can do that before lunch. He cupped my face, his touch gentle despite the violence in his words. But I won't.
Not unless you ask me to.
This is your fight. I'm just offering to be the weapon if you need one. The offer should have horrified me. Instead, I felt something dark and satisfying unfurl in my chest. Just the divorce, I said. That's all I need. Then that's what you'll get.
Best attorney in Illinois.
He'll file Monday, and this will be over before Ryan knows what hit him. He brushed a strand of hair from my face. But Sophia? If he tries to hurt you, financially or otherwise, all bets are off. We spent the afternoon in the studio. Dominic brought me coffee and left me alone to explore the equipment, to load the cameras, to remember what it felt like to hold professional gear that wasn't rented or borrowed. When I finally emerged, the sun was setting over the lake in shades of gold and rose. I found him on the deck, laptop open, phone to his ear.
Speaking rapid Italian. He looked up when I appeared, held up one finger one more minute and concluded the call.
Everything okay?
I asked.
Nothing urgent. He closed the laptop. Did you shoot? Just test shots. Getting familiar with the equipment. I hesitated. This is too much, Dominic.
That camera alone is $30,000, and it's sitting in my studio unused because I don't have your eye.
He stood, moving to the railing. I bought this place 3 years ago. Thought I'd use it to escape the city, to find some kind of peace. But I've barely been here. It's just another empty house. He turned to face me. And then I met you, and I thought maybe this is what it's been waiting for. Maybe you're what it's been waiting for. You don't even know me.
Then let me.
He held out his hand. Stay for dinner.
Stay the night if you want guest room. No expectations, no pressure.
Just give me a chance to know you, Sophia. The real you, not the version your husband wanted. I should have gone home. Should have maintained boundaries. Should have been sensible. I took his hand.
Dominic cooked dinner. Actually cooked seared scallops with
a salad with ingredients from a local farm. Wine from a bottle that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage. You're surprised, he observed, plating the food with careful precision. Most men in your position have people to do this. I have people. But I grew up in my grandmother's kitchen. She believed that if you couldn't feed yourself, you weren't really alive. That food was love made tangible. He set a plate in front of me. Besides, I like cooking. It's one of the few things I do that doesn't involve negotiation or violence. We ate on the deck as the sun finished setting, the lake turning dark and mirror smooth.
And we talked.
Really talked. About his childhood in Chicago's Italian neighborhood, learning his family's business from his father and uncle. About the weight of expectations, of being born into a legacy of violence and power and trying to navigate a path that honored his family, while maybe being slightly less monstrous than the generations before. I'm not a good man, he said, refilling our wine glasses. I've hurt people. I've made decisions that kept me up at night. I operate in spaces where the law is a suggestion, not a rule. And I won't apologize for it, because it's the world I was born into and the empire I've built. Then why tell me any of this? Because I want you to know what you're getting into if you choose this. Choose me. His dark eyes held mine. I can give you everything, Sophia. Security, freedom, the space to create whatever art you want without worrying about money. I can make sure no one ever makes you feel small again, but it comes with a cost. What cost? Being known, being associated with my name, my family, my reputation. There are people who would use you to get to me. There are dangers in my world that I can protect you from, but I can't erase them entirely. He reached across the table, taking my hand. So I need you to understand what you're choosing. Not just me, but everything that comes with me.
I should have been scared.
Should have made the rational choice to thank him for dinner, accept the divorce help, and return to my safe, predictable life.
Instead, I squeezed his hand. Tell me about your grandmother.
His face transformed genuine warmth breaking through the dangerous exterior. Nana Teresa, she was 4'10" and terrifying. Came over from Sicily when she was 19. Married my grandfather in an arrangement between families, and proceeded to run the household with an iron fist wrapped in homemade pasta.
We talked until midnight.
About his grandmother's kitchen, my parents' restaurant in Chinatown where I'd learned to see stories in the architecture of immigrant dreams. About art and food and the ways we communicate love when words aren't enough. About fear and ambition and the lies we tell ourselves to survive. I should let you sleep, Dominic finally said, but he didn't move to leave the deck. I should want to sleep, I replied. But I don't want this night to end. Then let's watch the sunrise. He stood, offered his hand. Guest room has the best view. I'll make coffee, bring blankets. We'll stay up like teenagers who don't want the party to end. We did. Sat in the guest room wrapped in blankets, drinking coffee, watching the sky lighten from black to gray to rose. Talking about everything and nothing. And when the sun finally broke the horizon, painting the lake in liquid gold, Dominic pulled me close. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? For seeing me, for not running, for giving me this night. He kissed my forehead. Get some sleep, Sophia. When you wake up, we'll figure out what comes next. I fell asleep on the guest room bed, still wrapped in blankets, with Dominic's scent on the fabric and the sunrise burning behind my eyelids. If this story is hitting different, subscribe so you don't miss what happens next.
Trust me, you'll want to follow this.
I woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of Dominic's voice speaking Italian somewhere in the house. The bedside clock read 11 a.m. I'd slept for hours, the kind of deep, dreamless sleep I hadn't experienced in months. The guest bathroom had everything I might need. New toothbrush, high-end toiletries, even a robe that actually fit. Someone had been thoughtful. Or Dominic had made a phone call and someone had been paid to be thoughtful. Either way, it felt like care. I found him on the deck, phone to his ear, pacing. He looked up when I appeared, his expression softening. Devo andare, he said into the phone. Handle it. I'll be back in the city tomorrow. He ended the call. Morning. How'd you sleep? Like the dead. How long have you been up? Never went to sleep. Business calls from the East Coast. Time zones are a nightmare. He gestured to a covered tray. Rosa, my housekeeper in Chicago, sent Antonio up with breakfast. There's also coffee, and before you ask, yes. She thinks I'm insane for bringing a woman here without giving her proper notice to prepare the house. I laughed, pouring coffee. Does Rosa know who I am? She knows you're important. That's all that matters. He moved closer. Sophia, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. My stomach tightened. Okay. Do you want to go home? Because if you do, that's fine. No judgment. Antonio can have you back in Chicago in 2 hours. But if you want to stay, he paused. Stay. Spend the weekend here. Let me show you more of this world. Let me prove that choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's survival. I thought about my condo in Lincoln Park, with its designer furniture and empty spaces. About Ryan, probably spending the weekend with Becca, or spiraling about the divorce, or already calling lawyers. About my life that had felt like a slow suffocation. Then I looked at the lake, the studio upstairs, the man watching me with careful hope in his dangerous eyes. I'll stay, I said. On one condition, name it. You let me photograph you. Really photograph you, not just candid shots. A portrait session. Dominic's discomfort was immediate. I don't do photos. Which is exactly why I want to do this. You've seen my soul through my work. Let me see yours. He studied me for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Okay, but only you see them, no one else. Deal. The portrait session happened that afternoon in the studio. I'd expected Dominic to be guarded, uncomfortable. Instead, he was remarkably open, talking about his family, his business, the weight of maintaining an empire built on fear and loyalty. I shot him against the north light, capturing the contrast between his dangerous reputation and the vulnerability in his eyes when he thought I wasn't looking. "You're good at this," he said during a break. "I'm good at seeing what people try to hide. And what do you see in me?" I looked through the images on the camera's display. Someone who's tired of being feared and wants to be known. Someone who's built walls so high they've forgotten how to let people in. Someone who's lonely at the top of an empire. His jaw tightened. "That obvious?" "Only to someone who knows what loneliness looks like." I set the camera down. "I've been invisible for 4 years, Dominic. You've been hypervisible your whole life. They're different cages, but they're still cages." He pulled me close then, his forehead resting against mine. "Maybe we can unlock each other." Sunday morning, we took a boat out on the lake. Dominic drove while I photographed the shoreline, the other estates, the way light reflected off water. He'd packed lunch sandwiches and fruit and a bottle of wine, and we anchored in a quiet cove where the houses disappeared behind trees. "This is where I come when it gets too loud," he said. "When the business, the family obligations, the constant negotiation becomes too much, I drop anchor here and just exist. It's perfect. It could be yours, ours." He turned to face me. "Sophia, I know this is fast. I know you're still processing your marriage ending, still figuring out who you are outside of being Ryan's wife. But I need you to know I want this. You, me. This life. I want to watch you create art. I want to cook you dinner. I want to wake up to you every morning and fall asleep with you every night. And I know I'm asking for something impossible." "Yes." He blinked. "Yes, I want this. Yes, I'm terrified. Yes, it's too fast and probably insane. But yes." I moved closer. "I've spent 4 years making safe choices, and they led me to a marriage where I was invisible. Maybe it's time to make the dangerous choice." Dominic kissed me then, deep and consuming, and I knew with absolute certainty that I was choosing myself by choosing him. Sunday evening, we drove back to Chicago. The city lights welcomed us home, and when Antonio pulled up to Dominic's building in the Gold Coast instead of my condo in Lincoln Park, I didn't ask him to take me home. I was already there. Dominic's penthouse occupied the top floor of a pre-war building that had been gutted and renovated into something that walked the line between historic charm and modern luxury. Exposed brick walls, original hardwood floors, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Lake Michigan. The furniture was masculine but comfortable leather sofas that actually looked sat in. Bookshelves filled with volumes that showed signs of being read, art on the walls that spoke to personal taste rather than investment. "Guest room is this way," Dominic said, leading me down a hallway. "It has its own bathroom, closet space. I'll have Antonio bring your things from the condo tomorrow." "My things?" "Clothes, your photography equipment, whatever you need. Unless you'd prefer to go yourself." The thought of facing that condo, of sorting through 4 years of married life, made my stomach turn. Can I deal with that later?" "Whenever you're ready." He set my overnight bag on the guest room bed. "I have some calls to make. Make yourself at home. Kitchen stocked, there's wine, help yourself to whatever." He left me alone in the guest room, and I sat on the bed, processing. This was real. I'd left my marriage, spent the weekend with a man I barely knew. And now I was staying in his penthouse while my divorce played out. It should have felt reckless. It felt like the first real decision I'd made in years. That night, I couldn't sleep. The guest room was comfortable, the bed expensive and perfect. But my mind wouldn't quiet. Around 2 a.m., I gave up and wandered toward the living room. Dominic was in his study, visible through the glass door. Paperwork spread across his desk, reading glasses I hadn't seen before perched on his nose. Looking less like a crime boss and more like a man drowning in responsibility. I knocked softly. He looked up, pulled off the glasses. "Can't sleep?" he asked. I keep waiting to feel guilty, I admitted, leaning against the door frame. About Ryan, about how fast this is moving, about all of it.
And do you?
No. That's what scares me. I should feel guilty, shouldn't I? I should be mourning my marriage or questioning this decision or something other than relieved. Dominic stood, crossed to where I stood. You feel guilty because you're happy. Because someone told you that you don't deserve to choose yourself first. That your needs should come second, third, last. His hands framed my face. But Sophia, you deserve to be happy. You deserve to wake up without that weight on your chest. You deserve to be with someone who sees your value. Or I'm just a terrible person who left her husband for a man she barely knows. Then let me know you better. He pulled me into the study. Ask me anything. My childhood, my business, my family, the skeletons in my closet, which I promise you are numerous and varied. Ask me everything you're afraid to know. So I did. We talked until sunrise, curled up on the leather sofa in his study. He told me about growing up in his father's shadow, learning the family business through a combination of instruction and violence. About his mother who'd left when he was 12, unable to handle the life anymore. About taking over operations at 25 when his father had a stroke. Inheriting an empire he hadn't been sure he wanted. Do you regret it?
I asked, taking over.
Late at night when I'm going over accounts and trying to figure out how to launder money without the FBI noticing. Yeah, I regret it. He smiled without humor. But then I think about what would have happened if I'd walked away. My cousin would have taken over, and he's vicious in ways I've never been. The family would have gone to war with the Russians, the Irish, probably themselves. People would have died.
So you chose the lesser evil?
I chose to be the monster who protects instead of destroys. It's still monstrous, but at least I can sleep at night. He looked at me. Does that scare you? Yes, I admitted, but I'm staying anyway.
Why?
Because you don't pretend to be something you're not. Because in a weird way, your darkness makes sense to me. I traced the line of his jaw. I've been living with a different kind of monster, the kind who pretends to be normal, who gaslights you into thinking you're the problem. At least with you, I know exactly what I'm getting into. Dominic pulled me close, and we fell asleep on that sofa as the sun rose over Lake Michigan, choosing each other in the quiet morning light. 2 weeks blurred together in a rhythm I'd never experienced. Dominic's attorney Miriam Katz. A woman with silver hair and a reputation for destroying opposing counsel handled my divorce with surgical efficiency. Ryan's lawyer tried to play hardball, demanding I pay half his legal fees.
Claiming I'd abandoned the marriage.
Miriam responded with documented proof of his infidelity, his embezzlement from the expense account. How Dominic had gotten that information, I didn't ask, and a suggested settlement that gave Ryan the condo and his dignity in exchange for signing immediately. He signed within 48 hours. You're free, Miriam told me over coffee at her downtown office. Divorce will be final in 6 weeks, but for all practical purposes, it's over. You're no longer legally tied to Ryan Harper. I should have felt something: dramatic relief, grief, triumph. Instead, I just felt light. Like I'd been carrying a weight for so long I'd forgotten what it felt like to stand up straight. Maya visited on a Wednesday, appearing at the penthouse with Thai food and suspicion in her eyes. Okay, I need to see it, she said, setting the takeout on Dominic's granite countertop. I need to see that you're actually okay and not being held captive by some Mafia princess Stockholm Syndrome situation.
I'm not a captive, Maya.
Said every captive ever. But she was looking around the penthouse, taking in the photography equipment Dominic had bought for me. The prints I'd been working on spread across the dining table, the comfortable mess of someone actually living rather than existing. Okay, but seriously, are you happy? I think so. I'm terrified and exhilarated, and I have no idea what I'm doing. But yeah, I think I'm happy.
You look different.
You look... Maya hugged me. I was so worried. But if this is what choosing yourself looks like, then I'm here for it. Even if your boyfriend is literally part of the Chicago mob. We don't use that word. What, boyfriend or mob? Both. Dominic came home that evening to find Maya and me 3 glasses deep in wine, going through my portfolio and selecting pieces for a gallery submission. He stopped in the doorway, taking in the scene, and something soft crossed his face. "Don't mind me," he said. "I'll just be in my office if you need anything." "You must be Maya," he added, extending his hand. "I've heard a lot about you." Maya shook his hand, trying not to look intimidated. "You're taking care of her, right? Because if you hurt her, I know people. They're not mob people, they're like event coordinators and florists, but we will find a way to destroy you." Dominic's laugh was genuine. I'd expect nothing less.
And yes, I'm taking care of her.
Or she's taking care of me.
It's honestly hard to tell at this point.
After Maya left, Dominic found me in his bedroom, staring at the gallery submission requirements. "You're going to submit," he said, not a question. "Maya thinks I should. Says it's time to stop hiding my work." "She's right." He sat beside me on the bed. "What's holding you back?" "Fear that I'm not good enough. That I've been out of the game too long. That this is all a fantasy and reality is going to come crashing back. Then let's make sure reality is better than the fantasy." He pulled me close. "What if I told you I have connections at 3 of Chicago's top galleries? That I could make calls, open doors? I'd say I want to do this on my own merit." His smile was proud. "Good answer. Then submit your work and let it speak for itself."
And Sophia? It's brilliant. They'd be fools not to see that.
The gallery opening was at a converted warehouse in the West Loop. Not a major institution, but prestigious enough that getting 3 pieces accepted felt like validation. My photographs hung on exposed brick walls, lit professionally, with little cards beneath bearing my name.
Sophia Chan, not Sophia Harp.
Just me. Dominic stood beside me, his hand possessive on my lower back.
Pride evident in his eyes.
Antonio and Marco maintained discreet positions near the exit side, learned not to go anywhere without security. Had learned that dating Dominic Salvatore meant accepting that I was always being protected. "You should be celebrating," Dominic murmured, handing me a glass of champagne. Not looking so nervous. "I'm not nervous about the photos. I'm nervous about everything else." I'd noticed the looks we were getting, recognition of Dominic, curiosity about me, the whispered conversations that followed us through the gallery. You'll get used to it. Being watched. Being known. I spent 4 years being invisible. This is terrifying. He kissed my temple. "You're handling it beautifully." That's when Vincent Catalano approached. I'd never met him, but I recognized him from Dominic's descriptions. Late 50s, expensive suit, silver hair, and eyes that assessed everything like he was calculating its worth. 2 men flanked him, security obviously, though they tried to look casual. "Dominic Salvatore," Vincent said, his voice carrying false warmth. "Didn't expect to see you at an art gallery. Expanding your cultural horizons?" "Vincent." Dominic's body tensed, his hand tightening on my waist. "Just supporting a friend." "A friend." Vincent's eyes slid to me, appraising. "You must be the photographer." "These are quite good. You have an interesting eye for the city." "Thank you," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I didn't know you were seeing anyone seriously, Dominic. You've always been so private about your personal life."
"Sophia is my fiancée."
The word came out firm, possessive. "We're keeping things low-key, but I wanted to support her work tonight." "Fiancé, we hadn't discussed this." My hand instinctively touched my bare ring finger. Vincent's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Congratulations. Though I have to say, it's dangerous, isn't it? Letting people know who you love makes you vulnerable."
Makes them vulnerable.
He looked at me again. The city can be such an unpredictable place, especially for civilians who get caught in business matters they don't understand. The threat was subtle but unmistakable. My stomach clenched. "Vincent," Dominic's voice dropped to something dangerous. "I'd suggest you be very careful about the implications you're making."
Especially in public. "No implications. Just observations."
Vincent smiled. "Enjoy the evening."
Beautiful work, Miss Chen.
I hope you get to create a lot more of it. He walked away, his security following. What just happened? I asked, my voice shaking. Dominic's jaw was tight. He was sending a message, letting me know he's aware of you, aware that you matter to me. Why? Territory, contracts, influence. He's been pushing boundaries for months, and I've been pushing back. Letting him know you exist was a calculated risk. Claiming you publicly protects you in some ways, but it also makes you visible to my enemies. You said I was your fiancé. He turned to face me fully. I know.
I should have asked for, should have given you a choice.
But in that moment, I needed Vincent to understand that you're not just someone I'm seeing, you're mine.
Completely. And anyone who touches you answers to me.
Is that what I am?
A possession? No.
His hands framed my face. You're my heart. You're the reason I wake up every morning. You're everything I didn't know I was missing until you fell into my life. And I will burn this city to the ground before I let anyone hurt you. So yes, I called you my fiancé.
And if you'll have me, I want to make it official.
He pulled a small box from his jacket pocket. Inside was a ring Art Deco platinum with a center diamond surrounded by smaller stones in a geometric pattern that spoke to architectural influence. Marry me, Sophia.
Not because I'm trying to possess you or trap you. Marry me because I love you.
Because I want to build a life with you. Because I want everyone to know you're mine and I'm yours. I looked at the ring, at Dominic's face, at the gallery around us where my photographs hung on the walls, proof that I existed, that I created, that I mattered. Yes, I whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. He slipped the ring on my finger, and it fit perfectly. Of course it did. Dominic always got the details right. But as he kissed me, I couldn't shake the memory of Vincent Catalano's smile, the subtle threat in his words, the knowledge that by saying yes, I'd just painted a target on my own back. We're almost at the end. But before we get there, hit subscribe. Because the payoff to this story? You're not going to believe it.
The next 2 weeks, security triple. Antonio became my constant shadow whenever
Dominic wasn't with me. Marco coordinated a rotation of additional
guards. The penthouse building increased its security protocol.
The men watching from across the street, the way Antonio's hand always hovered near his weapon. I'm not used to this. I told Dominic one evening as we got ready for dinner at one of his restaurants in the South Side. I know.
I'm sorry.
Don't apologize. Just help me understand.
What exactly is happening?
He'd been evasive about Vincent, about the threat level, about what business matters meant. But tonight, seeing me in the mirror struggling with my necklace clasp, something in his expression cracked. Vincent wants my territory. Specifically, the South Side developments and the shipping contracts I inherited from my father. He thinks I've gone soft, that I'm distracted. He moved behind me, taking the necklace and fastening it with steady hands. He's been making moves trying to bribe my people, undercut my contracts, turn my allies.
Standard territory dispute.
But now he knows about you.
Which means he has leverage.
Dominic's hands settled on my shoulders, his eyes meeting mine in the mirror. The safest thing would be to remove you from the equation. Send you away until this is resolved. My stomach dropped. You're breaking up with me? Never. The word came out fierce. But I'm terrified, Sophia. I've been in this business my entire life, and I've never been scared.
Not when my father's enemies came for us.
Not when I had to make my first kill at 19. Not when the FBI investigated me for 2 years. But now? His grip tightened. Now I'm terrified.
Because I finally have something to lose.
I turned to face him. Then don't lose it. Don't send me away.
Let me stand beside you.
You don't understand what you're asking. I understand that Vincent is using me as leverage because he thinks I'm your weakness. But what if I'm your strength? What if being with me makes you fight harder, not softer?
Dominic searched my face. You're remarkable.
Do you know that? I'm learning. The restaurant was one of Dominic's legitimate businesses, upscale Italian, in a neighborhood that was gentrifying under his development projects. The food was incredible. The atmosphere perfect.
and I was starting to relax when Antonio appeared at our table. His face was grim.
Sir, we have a situation.
Dominic's expression went cold. What situation? Fire at the construction site on Halsted.
3 trucks torched. No casualties, but it's clear arson.
I watched Dominic process the quick calculation, the flash of fury carefully controlled. Vincent, I said. Yes. Dominic stood, already pulling out his phone. I need to handle this. Antonio, take Sophia back to the penthouse.
Full security protocol.
I'm coming with you, I said. Absolutely not. Dominic, Sophia, this isn't negotiable. If this is Vincent sending a message, if he's watching to see my response, I need to know you're safe.
Please.
His voice softened. Please go home.
Let me handle this.
Against every instinct, I nodded. Antonio escorted me out the back entrance to the waiting SUV.
Marco already in the driver's seat. The ride back to the penthouse was tense.
I watched the city pass by, thinking about Dominic at that construction site, about Vincent Catalano and his subtle threats,
about the world I'd chosen to enter. My phone buzzed. Pretty ring. Would be a shame if you lost a finger.
We're going to increase security, he said. You don't go anywhere without 2 guards minimum. And we need to tell Dominic.
He'll lose his mind.
Good. He should. Antonio met my eyes in the rearview mirror. Mrs. Caruso. I'm not Mrs. Caruso yet. You're wearing his ring.
In our world, that's the same thing.
And it means you're under our protection.
All of us.
You understand. We don't let anything happen to you. The loyalty in his voice was absolute. These weren't just employees, they were family. Dominic's family. And by extension, now mine. Back at the penthouse, I forwarded the text to Dominic. His response came immediately.
Stay inside. Don't open the door for anyone but Antonio or Martin.
He came home. His knuckles were bruised, his shirt had blood on it. Not his, he assured me quickly. And there was a darkness in his eyes I hadn't seen before. It's done, he said, washing his hands in the kitchen sink. Vincent made his move. Now it's my turn. What does that mean? It means we're going to war. He turned to face me, and I saw the monster everyone else feared. And Sophia, I need you to decide right now if you can handle what that means. Because once this starts, there's no going back. I looked at my fiancé, dangerous, violent, and mine, and made my choice. Then let's finish it. The sit-down was scheduled for Saturday night. Neutral territory, a warehouse in the industrial district near the Chicago River, owned by neither the Salvatores nor the Catalanos. The commission had called it. The 5 family heads who'd maintained peace in Chicago for 3 decades, tired of Vincent's aggression and Dominic's escalation. You're staying here, Dominic said that morning, checking his weapon with practiced efficiency. Rosa is coming up from the city. You'll have Antonio, 2 of his men, and building security. I should be there, I argued. We've been having this fight for 3 days. You should be safe.
That's what matters.
If this is about me, about Vincent using me as leverage, then I should be part of the conversation. Dominic crossed the bedroom, cupping my face. Sophia, these men are dinosaurs. They operate by old rules. Women don't attend sit-downs. It's not about respecting you, it's about respecting tradition. And if I break that tradition, I lose credibility before we even start negotiating.
So I just wait here? Not knowing what's happening? Yes.
He kissed me softly. Trust me to handle this.
Trust me to come home to you.
He left with Marco at 7 p.m., and the penthouse felt immediately too large. Too empty. Rosa tried to distract me with food, with conversation, but my mind was at that warehouse, imagining scenarios that made my stomach clench. At 9:30 a.m., Antonio got a call. His face went grim.
What?
I demanded. What happened? Fire at Dominic's restaurant in the South Side. The one we were at last week. Multiple trucks on scene. It's bad. Vincent, I breathed. He's using the sit-down as cover. He's hitting Dominic's businesses while he's occupied. Antonio was already on his phone, coordinating with his team. Marco had called, saying the same thing. This was a diversion, Vincent drawing Dominic's forces out while he struck. We need to tell him, I said. We are. Marco's calling now.
No.
I grabbed my phone, my jacket. We need to go there. Dominic needs to see it, needs to know this isn't just property damage, it's Vincent violating the sit-down protocols. Mrs. Caruso, I can't take you, you can and you will. Because if Dominic doesn't have all the information, if he makes decisions based on incomplete intelligence, people could die. Maybe him. I met Antonio's eyes. I'm going. You can come with me, or I'll drive myself. Antonio swore in Italian, then barked orders at his team. Fine.
But you stay in the car.
You don't get out. You don't intervene. You just provide information. Understood. The warehouse was exactly as dangerous as I'd imagined, industrial space stripped down to concrete and shadows, with expensive cars parked outside and men with weapons standing guard. Antonio parked a block away, in position to see the entrance but far enough to avoid attention. Through the tinted windows, I could see the building, the guards. The tension evident even from this distance. Marco says they're inside, Antonio reported, phone to his ear. Vincent brought a dozen men.
Dominic has sick.
The commission heads are trying to mediate, but it's wait. His expression changed. Sophia, get down.
No. What? Get down.
He shoved me below the window line just as gunfire erupted from the warehouse. Not inside, outside. Vincent's men, shooting at the building, at Dominic's cars. It was an ambush. Go, I told Antonio. They need you. I can't leave you, I'll lock the doors.
I'll stay down.
But Dominic needs you more than I do right now.
Go.
Antonio hesitated for half a second, then bolted from the car, weapon drawn.
Disappearing into the chaos. I should have stayed down. Should have followed order.
Should have been sensible. Instead, I thought about Dominic inside that warehouse, surrounded by Vincent's men.
Possibly trapped. I thought about how this started because Vincent knew I mattered. Because I'd become leverage. Maybe it was time to use that leverage. I got out of the car. The warehouse entrance was chaos. Dominic's men exchanging fire with Vincent's. Cars bullet-riddled, someone screaming. I ran toward it, keeping low. Adrenaline overriding common sense. Mrs. Caruso.
One of Dominic's guards saw me, tried to intercept. You can't. Where's Dominic? Inside, but... I pushed past him into the warehouse. The interior was a war zone. The commission heads had taken cover behind overturned tables. Vincent's men were positioned near the exits.
Weapons raised. And in the center, Dominic and Vincent faced each other, both armed, both.
You violated neutral ground, Dominic was saying, his voice deadly calm despite the chaos. You broke protocol. Protocol is for the weak, Vincent spat. This city needs new blood, new leadership, Dominic.
Every head turned. Dominic's face went from fury to terror in the span of a heartbeat.
Sophia, what the hell, it's a diversion, I called out. Vincent's hitting your restaurant right now.
The South Side location.
Multiple trucks. He planned this, get you here while he destroys your businesses. The commission head, elderly, distinguished, looking furious, turned to Vincent. Is this true? Vincent's smirk was answer enough. You violated neutral ground, the commission head said coldly. You use this sit-down as cover for an attack. That breaks every rule we have.
Rules made by old men afraid of progress enough.
The commission head stood. Dominic, the territories are yours.
The contracts are yours. Chicago is yours. Vincent Catalano, you're done.
Get out of this city by Monday, or you won't be leaving at all. Vincent's face contorted with rage. In one fluid motion, he pulled a weapon. Aimed it not at Dominic. At me. Everything happened at once. Antonio fired from the doorway. Marco tackled Vincent from the side. Dominic was moving, throwing himself in front of me as the shot went wild.
Plaster raining down from the ceiling. Then silence. Vincent was on the ground. Antonio's bullet in his...
Not dead yet, but dying. His guards had lowered their weapons, smart enough to know when it was over. Dominic turned to me, shaking with fury and fear.
You could have been killed.
What were you thinking? That you needed to know? That I wasn't going to hide while you fought for us?
Don't ever. He pulled me close, his heart hammering against my... Can't promise that.
Despite everything, the dying man on the floor, the weapons, the chaos, Dominic laughed. You're going to give me a heart attack. But you'll never be bored. The police investigation was perfunctory. The warehouse was owned by a shell corporation. Vincent's death was ruled self-defense. His family left Chicago within the week. Their territory absorbed by Dominic's operations or divided among the other families. I spent 3 days processing what I'd witnessed. Dominic insisted I see a therapist doctor, Sarah Kim, who specialized in trauma and had apparently been helping his people for years. You witnessed violence, Dr. Kim said during our first session. You made choices that put you in danger. That's going to have psychological impact, whether you feel it immediately or not. I feel it, I admitted. I wake up hearing gunshots.
I see Vincent's face.
But I also feel, I don't know.
Strong?
Like I proved something to myself. That you can survive violence. That I can stand beside the person I love even when it's terrifying. That I'm not the invisible girl anymore. Over the next 3 months, Dominic stepped back from day-to-day operations. Marco took over more territory management, Antonio coordinated security, and Dominic focused on the legitimate business's real estate developments, restaurant expansion. Investments that didn't require violence. I want to build something different, he told me one night, for our kids. For whatever legacy we leave. Something that honors my family but doesn't continue the cycle. My photography career exploded. The gallery exhibition led to more showings, to commissions, to a feature in Chicago Magazine. I hired an assistant, rented studio space in one of Dominic's buildings.
Started building something entirely mine. We bought the Lake Geneva house permanent.
Weekends there, learning to exist in peace instead of chaos. The wedding was small, Maya as my maid of honor, Marco as Dominic's best man. Rosa crying in the front row. We married on the dock at sunset, with Lake Geneva turning gold around us and the future stretching out like a promise. Our honeymoon was in Tuscany, where Dominic showed me his grandmother's village. We ate pasta in the same kitchen where Nonna Teresa had learned to cook. We walked cobblestone streets where his family's history was written in stone and blood and survival. This is where it started, he said, looking out over the rolling hills. 4 generations ago, when my great-grandfather decided Chicago was worth the risk.
Worth leaving everything behind.
Do you ever regret it? Your family choosing that path? I regret the violence. The deaths. The choices made out of fear instead of hope. He pulled me close. But I don't regret that path leading to you.
To us.
To this moment. Back in Chicago, we settled into a life that balanced both our worlds, his business meetings and my photography sessions. His family obligations and my gallery openings, the violence that still sometimes erupted and the peace we built in the spaces between. 6 months after the wedding, I stood in our penthouse bathroom, staring at a positive pregnancy test. Dominic found me there, frozen, trying to process.
Sophia?
Then he saw the test. His face transformed wonder, joy, fear, all at once. We're having a baby? We're having a baby. He pulled me into his arms, and I felt him trembling. I'm terrified. I'm going to be a terrible father. I'm going to mess this up. You're going to be amazing. You're going to teach her to be strong and kind, and to never apologize for taking up space. Her? Just a feeling. I'm always right about these things, you know. He laughed.
Of course you are.
That evening we stood by the windows overlooking Lake Michigan, his hand on my stomach, watching the city lights come to life. I love you, I said. I love you more, my Sophia, my wife, my everything. Don't forget the photographer who can handle chaos, the woman who runs toward danger instead of away from it, the one who makes you crazy. That too, definitely that too. And in the reflection of the glass, I saw us no longer invisible, no longer diminished, just whole. Finally, completely, devastatingly alive.